What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Criterion Corner. This is the segment on my channel where I discuss films that are either in the Criterion collection or streaming on the Criterion channel and tell you a little bit about them. And the movie I'm going to be discussing today, I actually saw a post online that the anniversary of the film was coming up. And to be honest, I was unfamiliar with this movie. I was very familiar with the director, Michael Mann. I've never actually seen one of his movies before, but I've heard a lot about him as a director, and I know especially Heat, a lot of people talk about that movie. I've still never seen it, but I know that he is very well liked, and I know his work has made a pretty big impact on the scene as a whole when it comes to the genre that he works in. And this movie in particular interested me because when I was reading the plot description, I saw Will Graham and Hannibal Lector, and I was thinking, oh my god, another Hannibal movie. I am a huge fan of the Hannibal TV series. I think it's one of the best television shows ever made. I can't believe it got canceled after 3 seasons. It felt more cinematic than really anything I've watched on TV in quite some time. And I think the way they build up Hannibal as a character, I think Will Graham was fascinating. Just everything about that was amazing. And obviously, it's been talked about a million times. The Silence of the Lambs is brilliant. Anthony Hopkins' performance is amazing. Jodie Foster is incredible. It's really a fantastic movie. And I haven't seen a lot of the sequels around those, like Red Dragon or the other movies that Anthony Hopkins were involved in. But this was really kind of the first sort of cinematic exploration of these characters, which made me very excited to watch because I have a pretty big attachment to the property. And the film I'm going to be telling you about today is Manhunter. Manhunter is directed by Michael Mann. FBI agent Will Graham, who retired after catching Hannibal Lector, returns to duty to engage in a risky cat-and-mouse game with Lecktor to capture a new killer. So, I was super excited to watch this movie, could not wait to experience it, especially with the attachment to the property, and I absolutely loved this movie, and I think the reason why I loved it so much is it's so vastly different than the other iterations of these characters in this world that I've ever seen. There's something about this movie that is so cold and calculated that it feels very realistic. One of the things about like the Anthony Hopkins version, it's very gritty and realistic, but it has a very horrific tone. And then the Hannibal television show, there's almost like surreal elements to it that kind of make it very almost Lynchian in moments where you have a lot of visual symbolism tying into the experience of characters. This felt like a cold, calculated FBI drama with very little frills. It's like a character experiencing a situation and you just kind of being along the ride with the character, which is one of the things that I liked. It's like it was no bullshit. It was great performances, just a lot of things to really appreciate that I can't wait to talk to you about today. So at the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Will Graham, played by William Petersen. And Will is retired. He lives on the beach with his wife and his young son. And we learn very early on in the movie that he left the FBI after catching Hannibal Lector, played in this particular film by Brian Cox. And after he captured him, because of the situation, he got very badly hurt. He decided, all I want is to be with my family. I have no desire to be in this world anymore. And it's because of how close Will gets to these cases. He almost puts himself in the mind of these killers to where he feels attached to them and almost fearful that he will feel the same way about it. If you see the Hannibal television series, goes very in depth about his character and shows it in, like I said, a very almost surrealistic way. And so one of his buddies from the FBI comes to him and says, hey, there's these families being targeted and murdered. It's a horrible killing spree. We really want you to come back to the FBI and do this. And he sets very strict ground rules. He sees these families and you can tell he's very moved. Like he wants to help these people, but he also doesn't want to put his family in harm's way. And he said, I'll go analyze this, but I don't want to be like the one that's at the forefront. I just want to look at this and try to give you information as much as I can. So this new killer starts going out and murdering these people, and the entirety of the film is Will working to try to figure out who this person is and meeting with his former rival Hannibal Lector in prison to try to get information from him in order to track this new killer down. So like I said, I loved this movie, and one of the big parts to that is the style of this film. The cinematography in this thing is mind-blowingly good. The way that it captures atmosphere, this movie feels so isolating and lonely and cold. There's so many images of Will traveling from place to place and seeing families or couples that are just living their lives and happy, and it's almost just him yearning for something that he knows he can't achieve because his job keeps pulling him back in. He understands he's very good at what he does and that he helps a lot of people doing it, and that trying to pull himself away puts others in harm's way because he's not helping, figure this out when he's clearly the best at what he does. And utilizing the cinematography to do so really worked well. I feel like there's also a lot of mirrors in this, and there's a lot of really interesting shots in this movie. There's one sequence in particular, and I didn't write it down. I didn't write it down at first, but there's a conversation where the people are cut off at their heads, and it's like just their torso down. And there's so many incredible moments like that where sort of complementing these ideas that Michael Mann has for the characters and reflective of kind of the mood that he's trying to show. And I really love when the cinematography can be so powerful. I also really love the color grading in this film. There's a lot of blue in this movie, and I really feel like that helps attribute that mood and tone in a way that works. There's some really interesting editing decisions in this. There's some really incredible shots that haven't left my mind since I watched the movie, and the cinematography played a large part in that. The performances in this movie are exceptional. Brian Cox is a very different version of Hannibal Lector than I'm used to. He's very straightforward and he's terrifying. And I think the way he's terrifying is there's really no emotion there. You can tell that he just knows how to manipulate the people that he comes into contact with. And even though he doesn't have a ton of screen time in this movie, whenever he is on screen, he's impacting the scene in a way that I think makes the film all that much better. I also loved William Petersen's performance as Will Graham in this movie. I thought that he was fantastic. The way that he has to kind of carry this emotional roller coaster ride of like wanting to be with his family, but like I said, feeling like he can't leave the job because so many people out there need him, and he realizes more people could die if he doesn't get involved. And I feel like that push and pull that he experiences, and also like the over attachment to these killers and like putting himself in their situation and fear that that will shift him mentally in one way or another. It just makes for a very captivating viewing experience. And the other best performance in this film is Tom Noonan. His character is incredible. The way his character shifts on a dime. I've watched Tom in a ton of movies now. I think he is a very understated actor. I don't think people ever really give him his flowers when they're due, and he is truly one of the best parts of this movie, and I thought that he was absolutely phenomenal. The score to this film is one of the best scores that I have heard to a movie in a very, very long time. Very synth driven, very of the time period, but one that I was like, man, this shit rips. Like the whole time I was listening to it, I was like, I am so just on the edge of my seat. It was a little over 2 hours, and I never felt bored. I was constantly hooked to the screen. I always wanted to know what happened next, and it's a great thrill ride. I feel like if I had any complaints with this movie, it wraps up relatively quickly, but I feel like that just kind of accompanies that feeling of this is a snapshot into a person's life. You're kind of just living that experience. It's less about exploring the lore of Hannibal Lecter or Will Graham. It's more like, here are these characters, and it's a subset of their lives, and just watch it play out on screen, which is some of my favorite movies. And I just thought that this thing was incredible. It deserves every bit of praise that it's ever gotten. If you have a Criterion channel subscription, not sure how long this is going to be on there, but I would definitely check it out or find one way or another to rent it, because it's phenomenal. So have you seen Manhunter? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was incredible. I loved it, and I can't wait to watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.